Manchester United have always been known for nurturing homegrown talent, from the Busby Babes to the Class 92. But is the legacy of supporting young players starting to fade? In this video, we'll look at new pressures on United stars like Alejandro and Garnacho, who are receiving harsh criticism from their own fans early in their careers, criticism that was once reserved for seasoned pros. As we explore the comparisons between Garnacho and Marcus Rashford, we'll also discuss whether this quick-to-judge attitude could impact the development of United's future stars. United are almost as well known for their approach to bringing bright young players through the junior ranks and into the first team and stardom as they are for being one of the biggest clubs in the world with a rich history of success. But has that legacy started to become more of a hindrance than a help? Naturally, people will gravitate to the tragically unfulfilled potential of the Busby Babes, the completely fulfilled potential of the annoyingly named Class of 92, and even back to the fleeting appearances of the lesser-known Fergie's fledglings. But there is far more to our history with young players than just those. In my time, I've witnessed Norman Whiteside, Mark Hughes, Clayton Blackmore, Ryan Giggs, Billy Garton, and Matt Robbins amongst many who have come through from the youth team to the first team to varying degrees of success. And by and large, all of those mentioned, and plenty before and since, have received the fullest of support from both fans in the ground and those dotted around the globe. There's something special about following a young lad from playing in front of a handful of spectators in a youth game to the first team at Old Trafford, and this used to result in a massive amount of goodwill from fans glad to see what they consider to be one of their own making it, and an equal amount of patience whilst they made the kind of frustrating mistakes every young player makes on their journey. Of course, as the players get older and more experienced, the degree of goodwill and patience subside as expectations grow, and with that comes criticism, exasperation, and in some cases dislike. While not being entirely comfortable with it, most seasoned pros accept that it tends to go with the territory and deal with it in a way that a mature adult tends to deal with difficult situations. Unfortunately, the goodwill and patience that used to exist towards young players seem to be dissipating more quickly than ever in recent years, as young player after young player becomes the target of fans' frustrations at the inadequacy of the team. The most recent recipient of this has been Garnacho, who is 20 years old and made his first senior start just over 2 years ago, in October 2022. Garnacho is exciting, direct and fast, with an eye for goal, but he's also inexperienced, frustrating, makes poor choices, is selfish and never looks for a teammate, and it's these perceived failings that are now being used to beat him over the head. He is also the most recent on a list of players abused by their own supporters, which I worry will only continue to grow in the years ahead, with little chance of things returning to where they used to be. Marcus Rashford, when he made his first team debut against Midtjylland, wasn't even due to play. That place was supposed to have been taken by Anthony Martial, but when he got injured, Rashford was literally the only fit forward we had left. Scoring 2, which were then followed up by another 2 against Arsenal, contributed to Rashford being one of the few bright spots in a season of bloody awful football. The joy in his face and the Wythenshawe accent all earned him a place in most United fans' hearts. However, since then, frustration has grown, the love has disappeared, and the desire to see him move on from United has increased, as inconsistent performances and a poor goal-scoring record have drawn increased attention to his general performances. His on-the-pitch persona is hard to warm to, and I've been as guilty as the next man, bemoaning his miserable expression, the arm flapping, his fondness for going to ground, which all give the impression he finds his teammates and the fans beneath him. This may not be the case, and I'm sure it's not, but it builds a picture which people then interpret in different ways. That side of thing, as I mentioned earlier, is the way of things for many players. The only thing that appears to have changed is the timescale, where once a young player was the last to be criticised, while the blame was shifted to the more experienced but probably less deserving teammates who should know better. It seems that nowadays young players are as much fair game as the rest of the team. All of this comes at a time when work being done at the youth level at Man United over the last few years has started to produce some of the most exciting young players in 30 years. As well as the more obvious ones like Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo, there's Ethan Wheatley, Ethan Williams, Harry Amas, Toby Collier, Jack and Tyler Fletcher, Shea Lacey, Amir Ibrahimov, Gabriel Biancheri, and so on. And while they won't all make it at United, there are so many reasons to be optimistic about the future. The concern now is that should one or more of these players actually prove good enough to play for the first team for more than a throwaway League Cup tie or a meaningless end-of-season game and make something of a career at United, they can no longer expect the extended period of goodwill and patience that young players of the past received, and instead go straight onto the full-on Rashford, with hate and exasperation rolling down in waves from the stands within 2 seasons. The complaint about players being overplayed and run into the ground by a governing body that doesn't care about them is a valid one, but so is the concern that the pressure being put on people still in their teens by the people paying to watch them is just as damaging.